Hello, my name is Shiva. I'm a developer of the fpxEngine, and I'm going to show you a few things here, stuff that I forgot to mention in the last video because I rushed it, and I'm probably going to rush this thing just as well. It also gives me an opportunity to show off some of the more advanced features that I put in here, and just give you a little taste of what's coming down the road. But at the moment, let's just start a game, and I'll just play a quick game, and I will just explain something. Okay.
FPX.
Hey, FP is actually working today. How nice. Now, one of the big things I wanted to talk about here was this new version of shivaFlippers that's in here. Now, as you can tell, if you saw the original versions of shivaFlippers, the really early, really early betas, one of the things that I had was the ability for shivaFlippers to be changed to a type of error for flippers. For instance, at the moment, this is a sort of an EM-ish kind of flipper. But you can actually change it to things like, say, a WPC type error flipper. You can change it to a really old flipper like the original 60s games. You can change it to a Stern, things like that. But most importantly is the new variable coil improvements that have been made to this. Now, as you can tell, I don't know if I can do this. No, I can't do it today. But I'll just play this, and one of the big changes with the variable coil is before the variable coil, if the ball's on the tip, it would cycle up in terms of power. So the higher the flipper angle, the more power that it will have, and that's the variable coil. It would only start at the very bottom position, but the biggest change with the shivaFlippers now is the variable coil will automatically start when you press the button, no matter where the flipper is. So before it would just be at the very bottom, but now it can be at the very top, and it can be anywhere in between. And it's kind of a really unique way with FP. Even though I've been playing around with this for a few weeks, it's so hard to get your mind wrapped around the fact that these are FP flippers. It's just so different than what you would expect. As you can see right there, right? So I'll just play this, and hopefully I can do a tap pass today, but obviously my fingers are not working great today. I've also did a lot of work and managed to fix the slowdown problem that's been present in FP since day one. If your ball's at the very tip there, and you have a very low omega, like below 10, your flippers will sort of drag with the ball on it, and that's a problem with the fact that there just isn't enough enough physics with FP, and some of the physics are actually combined together when they should be separate, and that's probably the biggest thing with it. Well, see, hey, I managed to do one. You can see with the variable coil, it's incredibly sensitive. And with this particular setting with shivaFlippers, and I will be bringing back the presets. Let's just show you very quickly some of the changes you can make, and the reason why it was so easy to do that. First off, base omega 20. This is your absolute base shots. This is the maximum value, by the way. As I said before, it starts at 0 omega, and it just cycles upwards until you get to the maximum value for your omega. So this is what sets that. I've told the script that I want 32 steps. In other words, 32 different degrees of omega, and that it will increase every step until it reaches 32, and then it will be at its maximum strength. That's what it means. So in other words, I got 32 steps. If I wanted to change this and don't make the variable coil so noticeable, then say let's do WPC. So that's 20 and 20, and suddenly my flippers are not as sensitive. You can't vary the shot range as much as you could before. The ball will generally shoot a lot faster with a lesser swing than the settings that I had before. Absolute minimum omega is 7. This is the absolute minimum amount of omega I want the flippers to fire at. So nothing below 7. So you won't get an omega below 7. This was sort of a sweet spot with my settings. If I went too low on here, and I had a very high angle, and the flippers would really drag on the tips. And as I said before, it's a thing with FP. Right here is it says define the initial amount of flipper swing to force absolute minimum omega. So it will only force absolute minimum omega for these 5 steps. As I said before, the variable coil routine is very unique, and of course this is the maximum ball speed you want for this. This is really just set so you can just flick the ball with the tips of your flip, with the tips and stuff, and it only will work on a very slow ball. Anything beyond that, it sort of it's just a little safety feature, in other words. And this is also a pretty big addition. When I was talking to people about this, a lot of people were saying that they're just not fast enough to be able to flick the flipper. They're not able to do tap passes and stuff. Their reflexes are too slow, or they just have lousy hardware. And it's very hard if you're playing on a keyboard to be pressing down with flippers. You use a completely different muscle group. Your reflexes are a little bit slower. It's a little bit tougher to lightly tap the keys like you could on a proper cabinet. So I put this in, and this is a value of from 0 to 6. 1 is generally set to be 11 milliseconds delay. So in other words, if you set this to 1, if you press the key, you have an 11 millisecond delay. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. But wow, I should really pay attention to what I'm doing, eh? There we go. So if this is set to 1, you have 11 millisecond delay. If you set this to 6, then you have up to then you have this as a 31 millisecond delay. So that means that when you press the key, that's how long it will take before the flipper will actually flip. So you can, basically adjust the flippers to your skill setting. That's one of the most important things. In fact, you'll notice that with these settings and with this, the game does play quite differently. So let's try this again. This is actually the first time I've really tested it with these settings with this brand. In theory, it will work. We'll see.
fpx.
I'll try and give this a flick. Yeah, they play very much like the way FP normally plays. You can still see a little bit of the variable coil every once in a while, but for the most part, it's a lot faster. Even when you give a slight flick like that, you notice how fast the ball went and everything else. 20 degrees of difference, which is what I've got this set on, is not a lot here. And of course, because there's no because there's only a very short timer delay. It's going when you press the button, the flipper will not be so delayed. Flipper solenoid will not be delayed as much, so your shots are going to be a lot stronger. Personally, I like 3 for me. It seems to work really good with me, and I kind of like anywhere from 28 to 30, because I kind of like the old Bally style era flippers. I'm not really into things like the WPC game flippers on the classic Bally EM type early solid state game. Don't like those kind of. I don't like WPC flippers on those. I like WPC flippers on WPC games, right? This should also allow you, with these settings, you can do the various coils too as well. For example, Williams used what was referred to as a small coil system, which was for the later EM games and the early solid state games. And the last Williams game to use a small coil or a weaker flipper was Gorgar. And then then right after that, they went to a large coil system, and the first game for that one was Firepower. And of course, as we all know, there's a big difference in the flippers between Gorgar, which was slow, compared to Firepower, which was considerably faster. And Bally did the same thing. What else is here? Yeah, okay. Next off in here is the bolt system. And as you can see, this is now actually fully working. I've got this a lot more complete. The bolt system is going to be very, very interesting here. I decided to just show you one of my worksheets. You'll have a copy of this when you download the FPX, and also when you see it in the manual. Let's grab the manual, because Windows has decided to put this in the wrong window again. Anyway, here's the manual. But you know, the manual pages, I'm starting to build more pages. The manual will take a while for me to finish. I'm going to release fpxEngine 1.41 as soon as I deem it usable, ready to go. But a lot of the manual sections still will need to be rewritten to be up to date and everything. Though I am doing as much as I can. This is what the manual for the bolt items look. I haven't done the other 2 bolt items yet, but I give you a little picture there. I kind of figured that people who will be using the bolts will want to see how they actually look, and it makes it a lot easier. I also give you the file name of the bolt to look for if you want to use this one, and I explain all of the scoring. I even give you a little bit here about how to change the scoring easily. This is really for beginners. More advanced people, you could it's pretty easy to follow with the master script, which I call the worksheets. But as you can see, and here's the master code. And technically, you can translate this for other FP tables that don't use the fpxEngine. It is a bit of work though, because as you can tell, I do some very, very unique things in my coding. And one of the things with the fpxEngine is I built it to be as expandable as possible. And one of the things like multiple music sets that somebody can just select, and you can completely change the entire music set. You have the ability to expand the bolt items very, very easily. You can just add more bulbs, and you can add more lights, and you now have the ability to very simply just define the amount of cases that you want. If you wanted to add more cases, it's actually very, very easy now. And of course, with fpxEngine, everything is named the same way. So even the subroutines themselves, if you've noticed in here, See, I've got the word with this one. This is the drop target bank one. So there's drop target bank one. I mentioned before fpx would be considered the table name. So if I wanted to turn this into Xenon, I would just do a simple find and replace, and I would find fpx and I would change it to Xenon. And if you notice, all of the subroutine names all have the same base word in it. So there's your object, that would be your table name, and that would be your base subroutine name. So every bolt item would have the word memory save in the subroutine for the memory. That's exactly how I put it together. And if you look at the very top, I give you a list of everything that you need to know. Give you a list of all of the actual objects that are used. So you can delete any of the other objects if you don't want them. So you can just sort of rearrange the design the way you want it. And also as well, you know, we have separate memory and saving and load routines for each bolt item, and everything was named so that you can have duplicates of the drop target. You can literally just duplicate this as many times as you want, create the objects. You can have 5 different drop target banks. You can have 20 different drop target banks. There's absolutely no limit to that. Though of course I'll be creating quite a few bolt items down the road based on actual table scoring, but at the moment I'm just creating the fpx series first, and that's just you know, just to get you started. And then for those of you who do like to code and do like to understand how to and want to make your own bolts, or a more advanced tutorial on how to change the bolt worksheets for your own custom code or anything else as such, I give you, I'm writing this right now. This basically tells you all of the subroutines and all of the important variables, and as you can see, table name, object name, and then every bolt item will have the case repeat in it. And we just go on to explain this. And yes, this is the reason why this thing is so damn taking me so damn long. The manual is actually taking me a good 3 or 4 times longer to write than the script. But it's got to be done, because or else I'll have 2.5 million questions when I do release it. So what else is in here? Oh yes, we also have some scoring events. They're not in here right now. There's a couple of new ones. I've added those in. Those are on the 25K award. Add alternating lanes. The next version after this one will have multi-bore in it, but it will also have a couple more add scoring event features. These are just single line codes that you can just add in. See, this one is add scoring event, add alternating lanes. That's for the in lanes. That's all the code you have. If you want your lanes to alternate, that's all you need to add in there. Let's see what else is in here. We also have add multiplier. As I said before, there is going to be some changes in here. See, add scoring event jackpot. A lot of this code, reason why this manual is being rewritten, because I found that some users were having a hard time changing this, and so I'm going to be moving them away from beginners, because it's actually very, very easy to make a mistake with this particular code, and you could get all sorts of strange errors and stuff. So I'm just going to be moving the message system to a little bit of a safer place. Anybody that has even a basic knowledge of coding will be able to fix it. I'm just worried about absolute beginners, or people who've had absolutely no coding experience whatsoever, and they could run into problems with it. So as you can see, yeah, the code can get very, very complex sometimes. So we'll be doing that. And of course we have the built-in ball saver too now, and that is also now a ad scoring event. So if you want to put turn your ball saver back on, you can. I should mention that kickbacks, which is a standard Williams feature, will be down the road when I start doing bolt items for, say, the Williams setup. At the moment, this is a belly setup. Let's just put this in here for you. This is standard belly setup. I am going to be, as mentioned before, I'm going to make all of this just a bolt item, and then I'm going to do other bolt items, one based on the stock Williams flipper setup, one for Gottlieb, and maybe even one for Stern, or some, but might I even have a bolt item with banana flippers? You never know. Anyway, I think that's a rather mangled version of what I wanted to say, but it is late, and I do have a tendency to record these things at like 12:30 in the evening, when I really should be going to bed. But hey, you know, that's just the way it is. Beyond that, there isn't really much to say. As you can see, we're getting there with the coding. For the most part, most beginners, they might change that. But everything else they'll probably just leave alone. And because most of the presets here are already pretty good, but you can change just about anything in here as you want. As you can see, you can even set jackpots and stuff. You can tell the script if you want a higher mystery reward, you can change that from 25,000 to say 50,000. And it's the same with this. You can change your bonus, the amount. As you can see right here, you can have actually up to 159 bonuses. You can have up to 15 times bonus multiplier. I wrote the script to reuse the lights to be able to handle that. So as I said before, this is a very, very powerful engine under the hood. And I think people, especially as they begin to learn coding and stuff, and even using other engines, I think you're going to find there's some few surprises with the fpxEngine. There's a lot more to it than meets the eye, to say the least. If you really had to describe this, fpxEngine was made for beginners. It was made for intermediates. It was made for people who don't have absolutely no coding experience. It's just for people who just want to build a table without having to worry about the scripting aspect, and because the bolts are so finished, they want a really nice looking table, and FPX will do that for you. But it kind of does look like every other template on the planet. It sort of looks like a Yu-Gi-Oh, or one of those little smart cars, those little two-seater smart cars with the with like a 4-cylinder engine. It doesn't really look like much on the surface. It's only when you really have a really good look that you realize that there's some really powerful stuff. In other words, it looks like a Yu-Gi-Oh until you open up the hood and you found out that somebody has swapped the engine for a 1,000 horsepower turbocharged V12 engine, and that's basically the fpxEngine. It's got the power so that as you grow as a designer and as a table developer, the engine will also grow with you. It will sort of fill your needs up to a pretty decent level. Let's just end this video by just showing you the table design one more time. And as you can see, I don't really know of too many engine templates that has this kind of capability, especially the ability to quite literally just change out entire portions of the design and just swap them with new ones, or just create your own designs directly out of the available bolt templates. And of course, you can also, once you add in all of your bolts, I figure for a simple belly table, you're looking at maybe 8 to 10 different bolt items. You can just sort of mix the match. You can, it's sort of like a very simple jigsaw puzzle. But you can put the pieces and fit the pieces any way that you want. And I'm especially proud of the fact that this is a very, very, very sophisticated table. It has very sophisticated routines. It has all of the. It has a lot of. Has a lot of the BAM code in it. It has light synchronization routines. The display alone is text, 4-player, true 4-player, text-based. And you may see a new display system down the road for it. There's a lot here. And I hope that when I do release the next version of FPX, that some people give it a shot and try it out and keep giving me suggestions on how to improve this, and you know, as the FPX, as you grow as a developer, then the FPX engine will grow with you, and hopefully we can produce some pretty decent machines from people with incredible talent that just can't get over the coding aspect. So I hope to see a lot of tables used with this. This is an enormous amount of work, and the more people that use this, the happier I'm going to be, because it really justifies the amount of time that's needed to do this and the commitment that I have made to continue to work on this. In the meanwhile, I don't really see anything else to that I can talk about, and as you can see, we're starting to get into a lot of coding here. So, but there will be, as you know, over the next few versions, I'm going to be doing a rewrite of certain things, and hopefully to make them a little bit, to make them as easy to use as possible. I've rewritten shivaFlippers 3.0 at least 4 or 5 different times to try and make it so that it will be as easy as possible to use. And the rest of the next few versions, I'm going to be working on things like the music system and all sorts of other things, just to rewrite them, just to try and make it as flexible as possible, but as easy to use as possible. Because to be honest, a lot of the templates out there, they're just too damn complicated, and they're just too hard for beginners to understand. So I'm hoping that I have a lot of people that come in here who just want to make a pinball machine and have absolutely no clue how to do it, and I want to be able to give them a system where they can do it pretty quickly and build a pinball machine in half an hour, which is really what FPX template should be able to do. So we'll see how successful I am on that one. In the meanwhile, I'm hoping to get a new version out pretty quickly. The manual is going to be wrong, but I'm going to add just the key stuff to the manual. I will continue to rewrite it as I go along, and I'm just doing the final tests on the 4 major bolt items that are being put in. And once I'm happy with that, and I make sure that everything is perfect for that, then I'll probably release it, I'm hoping within the next few days. In the meanwhile, happy pinball.